Hello, hi. Is this thing on? Hello. Welcome to the last episode of season 3. It's been a journey, guys. All right. I'm getting nasally. I hate that. But it's been a journey. I haven't really been on the roleplay too much because I have some incidents that's been going on, but this is the last episode of season 3. We're going to be having a special guest today, Poppy, or you may know her as her DOC character Vivian, right? Right? Yeah. No, maybe. She'll probably, hopefully she can correct me. Or if you may know her from OG days, But yeah, so we're gonna bring her on. We're gonna talk all about her role play, every bit of it, every crevice. I know a very slow, like not slow, but very small, like I guess topic that we've talked a lot on this show has been about like cults and stuff, and she has experience with cults, so we're gonna finally see on that side of things. Of like cult RP, and there's also cult RP going on at the moment in the server, so kind of see how she feels for someone else taking that mantle, or if something that she maybe want to dip her toes back into. So no further ado, let's bring on Poppy, or KA 600 Nuts. Go ahead. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Behind the Roleplay. This is long overdue. I know that we've been kept putting it off and bringing it back and putting it off and bringing it back, but finally got you on here and finally to be able to talk about your roleplay.
I mean, we weren't going to get rid of me that easy, so
we were dedicated.
Nice try, though.
Dedicated.
Very dedicated.
I was like, I'm, I've been really eager to get this this episode, aired and get out there, and I was like, well, not giving up just yet. So I'm glad to have you on.
Yeah. I did think the set would be more put together when I was here, but okay. To each his own.
Okay, right. No, okay, fine. I'll go ahead and say it. We're getting a redesign for the set, and things are getting moved around. Okay, things are getting moved around. It's gonna take some time. Okay, first off, all right, I'm very professional. All right, I keep things very clean the best that I can, but sometimes when in the middle of cleaning, some things get roughened up a little bit. Some things get a little roughened up, but I'm glad the elephant in the room could get cleared. Okay.
Yeah. It's whatever floats your boat at this point, I guess. You go for it.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Sorry, that was a little skit that we were planning on doing. I was like, yeah, we should try and do a little skit and like do a little something, but I think it went good. I think it was under construction. Exactly. It's under construction. We're moving to big and better things. Yeah, little baby jigs. Yeah. I think it's still so cute the way that
it is my favorite thing in the world right now. I'm not going to lie.
People just see you just talking randomly, like, why are you talking? Look at it, and it's just like Maybe looks fine. Exactly. It doesn't look like it at all. Anything's damaged. It looks completely normal, besides the broken table and the cut up chair. Anyways, so we were talking a little bit when I was introducing you that I do want to start with kind of your first character you had around that left a very big imprint, I think, in the server, like for stories. I know recently there's been a big wave of people kind of joining into the server, and a lot of people who've been around who have characters that left a big imprint are kind of, I wouldn't say forgotten, but obviously with you having Poppy, it's kind of like, things obviously are always changing, always kind of like, moving on and stuff like that. So the character you had on originally in the server that you played quite a bit, that you had so much story with, Jackie. So Jackie was very like everyone kind of knew Jack. Same with Poppy. I mean, to be fair, what you did with Jackie, you did the same thing with Poppy. Like, right? Is that kind of fair to say, or?
I think so. They got known in different ways.
Different ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way that Jackie was able to get known, was it more of like the real estate kind of thing, or how would you say that the way that Jackie kind of got well known in the city?
So I think at first it was the it was the storyline that she actually came over with was the Satanic Temple kind of little thing she had going for her. I think that was kind of the first way people were like, this girl's strange but kind of likable, I guess. And then it kind of moved forward into, real estate, Dynasty 8. I didn't have a lot of time anymore for that Satanic Temple storyline type deal anymore. So real estate kind of took over my entire being at that point.
So, okay, well, before we gloss over the satanic, but as if that's completely normal, which, obviously someplace, in the real world, that is a thing. Right now, there is someone, I don't know if you may have seen on the other page, but like, people are trying to do the kind of cult stuff, that is still kind of going around. Is there a moment where you kind of want to like dip right back into that, like into that RP, or is that something that you're just like, I've kind of had my fun with it. I kind of want to bury that chapter of like RP that I've done.
Yeah, I've seen the cult stuff, on Twitter and the yellow pages and stuff. It's not caught my attention like it used to. So I think I've done, at least for me, everything I can do with, any sort of cult or big following or, stuff like that. I think I've kind of worn that down to my abilities. So I'm going to leave it to other people to have an adventure with that.
Well, see, that's how I feel about Serial Killer RP. Just for me personally, this is like, my second time around as Mr. Ink, and also Mr. Smiles. And it's like when you have that story that's so rich, and it's just like the impactfulness that it's had around you. And it's just like, okay, like I've done my story. I've done it, like, it's just like, now it's time for me just to enjoy just my own RP and just kind of like, have fun with it, and just kind of, there may be some intenseness, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just gotta take that chill pill.
The Satanic Temple stuff kind of got bigger than what it was really supposed to be. And honesty, it was just supposed to be me fucking around with some friends and calling it the Satanic Temple, and then it just kind of grew from that. And then I had people in there who were saying, we're gonna sacrifice you, we're gonna do this and that. So it just became like not fun anymore.
It was the eye stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if you know or not, but I did something with that, by the way. Like, I don't know if you knew that or not.
I don't know the details. I do know there was a point where we were I approached Julia in character as Jackie, and I was like, listen, tell Jimmy we're not
oh no, not that.
We're not trying to sacrifice anyone.
Not
oh
that.
No.
Not that.
What?
Not that. No. So there was stuff going around, right? And I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm gonna make a character and just be like, I've given up my soul to Satan, and I'm one level higher than the Red Eyes. Mine are black, and I had these like marks on the character's face that each mark represent his family, the members that he killed. And so whenever, like JJ, when he was a part of it, he took my character and basically ocean dumped him, and like basically just trying to get him away from talking about how the group made him worse. Basically, like he traveled from some other place and he had a call from Los Santos, basically like calling him out, getting him to travel there. And so that's when obviously like Aria when she was a part of it, she backed out of it because she saw my character that was saying that his was one step higher than the Red Eyes, like his was black eyes, and once you give yourself up, you can't stop killing.
Yeah.
I thought it was just gonna be a little fun little thing. It ended up being a whole a whole thing. Like apparently after that, the whole thing, like people were leaving, and a lot of people like was kind of apart. I don't know. It was fun to watch and be kind
Yeah,
of being a
it
part of.
was. I vaguely like now that you say it, I remember something to that extent, and I don't know if I knew it in character or out of character, but I remember something, and I was just. It was at the point where it was starting to like not be fun anymore,
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, I'm just gonna back off this whole cult satanic temple thing anyway. So here's just my push to do it. So
I had a lot of fun just kind of messing with it and just kind of like just seeing people's reactions. But like that, I will say, like being a part of that story, there are people who really, really, really like was into that story, you know,
mhm.
and it was like a type of how can I explain it? Like, you know, when you're part of like either like, you know, how Poppy's part of the mafia and like people part of groups and stuff like that.
Mhm.
When they were part of it, they treated it as if it was like an actual like group, you know, or gang, or not even gang, but like they treated it as it was like they were all in it together type thing, you know. And I think the
Yeah.
craziest part was the fact that it was like different people in different parts of the city, if that makes sense. Like you had someone who was a biker, you had someone who was wasn't Teddy in it, I think.
Oh yeah, Teddy was, and he was like DOJ before he quit. We had people almost, I think, every little facet of the city except for PD. I don't think I had anybody in PD who was interested.
But the fact that that was actually like, and I think that's why I freaked out, like had Jimmy freak out, was because like it was like it was all one branch of just like of the city, kind of like all together. And it was like, I don't know, it was so fascinating to watch that, like, because normally, let's be honest, when stuff are outside the box majority of the time, people like step away. They're like, whoa, 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 like this is not this side, this is too like out the box for me. But people were really, really into it. Like they were really like, hey, I'm give it my all, basically, you know.
Yeah, it was something. It started from Jackie was a character actually from my old server who had, this kind of weird storyline anyway. So I brought her over and gave her the white out eyes. And it started from that, people being like, why are your eyes white like that? And it just kind of snowballed into this big thing, which was really like interesting at the time.
Mm-hmm. And so it's just like, and you were just basically just like, oh, I just have white eyes, but like it's somehow just like honest, like through
Yeah.
improv, like it was just like, oh, like it's just because of this, and people would just start eating it up and just kind of like just fully going through it. So with how you've had Jackie originally, you said you had her through kind of the dynasty way. I cannot remember, you may have to refresh my memory, but like was Jackie like a part of like, you know, hospital, or like did she ever do like Dr. RP or anything, or was it mostly just strictly just dynasty?
No, Jackie was strictly Dynasty. She started working at Fat Mike's back when
Oh,
Fat Mike's was still open.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's a flashback for you.
Yeah.
So she started there, and then she actually started as a secretary at Dynasty 8 and kind of worked her way up to CEO.
Oh shit. Okay. So then,
Mhm.
so with how I'm trying to think how can I word this. So with throat's acting up today. So I know that we've obviously discussed already about the cult, but like the way that you had it laid out, I think it was so like, I wouldn't say hidden, but you had it to the fact that like nobody really knew unless the person that they like, if your friend knew and they knew, that's the only way they knew about the cult. Was there like, were you kind of like keeping it as hidden on purpose, or was it kind of just like, you know, like it was just like a little side thing that occasionally like you gotta get together and stuff like that, or was it like purposely like, you know, it was super super on the down low, but if you knew it, then you basically knew, you know?
So I wouldn't say I like purposely tried to keep it super hidden, but when you come into a city and you start talking about things like Satan and like I'm a Satanist or whatever, you don't really know how people are gonna react.
Right.
So I just wanted to kind of make it so it was not going to get me in trouble. Is the best way I could put it, because I didn't want somebody to get offended if they felt offended by it. I didn't want them to think that I was overstepping into making people do things that they didn't want to do, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. There's always times
Mm-hmm.
where I always think that like one day I'm going to be brought into a ticket because Jimmy lactates. One day it's going to happen, and they'd be like, "This, this person is very uncomfortable." I'm like, "Well, fuck, I'm going to have to like not have that," even though it's like fully on through character. But some people aren't comfortable, with like just sometimes like this, and that Satanist may not be the simplest thing, but it's sometimes you have to consider how people feel about certain things in RP.
Yeah, I really just want people to like have their RP, and I don't want something like overhanging that's gonna make somebody uncomfortable, because we're all here to have fun. So I
Mm,
don't want to intrude on that fun with something that they're not necessarily comfortable with.
100%.
Hmm.
So with kind of going from Jackie, right, and how
Hmm.
obviously you've permitted her.
Hmm.
We've had a discussion multiple times through the show about how when the thought process of perming your character, what was kind of your thought process with perming your character? Because she was, like you said, she was very like very well known. With having a character that is so well known, it's a bit like you don't know if you want to let go of that. Was there a part
Hmm.
of you that was like, once you end that character's chapter, was that kind of like something like, were you jump like kind of thinking like, were you ever going to get back in RP, or was Poppy always going to be something that you're like, okay, like this is going to be the next character that I put all my energy into?
So it's kind of it's a weird, like, convoluted thing that happened. Um, there was, as always with RP, there was some drama that occurred. Stuff I'd rather not like spread out on the show, but
For
there was
sure.
some drama that occurred. Jackie stepped down as CEO of Dynasty 8. Um, just kind of left, and then she was going to move on to be a lawyer. I wasn't having fun with lawyer RP. She got married to Angela and Alex Storm, and they were a thing, but they were kind of not there, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna make a character whose only reason for being is going to be a doctor. That's all. So when I get bored on Jackie, I can just go be a doctor. um, and then I just wasn't having fun on Jackie anymore. So I said, you know what? I need to wrap up this story, make it so that the people that, especially the two that she was married to, just need to make sure that they aren't being left hanging, and just call it the end of a story. So she got hit by a car, she died. And then Poppy became my main character.
So with how you said that, obviously Poppy, having that with being a doctor, there was a point where Poppy was very up there, right? With being like a part of the hospital staff and kind of like obviously putting a lot of time into it. Kind of fast forwarding that, going from working with the hospital with Poppy, and then I may not, again, if you want to fill it in more than please, uh Poppy left the hospital and became fully like went to FSM. Was there a point where you were just like, okay, like I'm gonna like, because a lot of times you never really hear or see story that like somebody who works at either hospital or police or whatever the case may be, like a government job, NRP, that would then leave it and then join like a mafia or anything like that. Were there any hesitations, or was it kind of like you're going in through it fully, like there's no backing out type thing?
So it's really funny because Poppy was actually never really meant to have a storyline besides, I'm a doctor, I'm going to give you a band aid.
Right.
Um, so it just kind of happened where she was introduced to Jigs. Jigs was at the time thinking about joining FSM, and they would go on dates, and then he'd be called away because XY's like FSM is getting into trouble, or FSM is doing this. So she would go back to the hospital, do her hospital stuff. Um, it got to a point where I'm really bad about this, in my characters, where I just kind of dedicate every bit of my being to something until I'm burned out. So that's what kind of happened with the hospital. Poppy got up to head doctor. Um, there were some tensions between PD and EMS at the time. So I was kind of like stressed out about that. I was stressed out about, constantly being a doctor, and then um all of the other members of high command had, their personal reasons they weren't able to be around. So I just finally said, you know what? I'm done with the hospital. I said Poppy has been corrupted by her husband at this point, and she's going to join FSM.
Damn. All right. So basically, he just took a full-on just leap for it.
I just leapt.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So with taking that leap, was there ever a moment where you got to actually like? Was there a bigger transformation, like seeing how obviously like doing like a full-on clean life, then going through FSM? Like, do you have Poppy kind of do like criminal things, or is it kind of like Poppy's just kind of, if they really need help, then you kind of bring Poppy along to help?
So Poppy is actually all in for the criminal stuff.
Okay.
Let's say that. She started out, kind of, because it was a weird transition, right? Poppy went from being somebody who protects life, who saves lives, who makes sure that everybody is, safe. And then she's joined a criminal organization where, yes, stuff happens. She's had to shoot at people. She's had to do things that she wouldn't have done, when I first brought her in the server. But she started out slow. She robbed, what are they called? Parking meters.
Oh, yeah.
For a straight week before she moved on to, robbing houses. And then before she moved on to like robbing banks and, stuff like that.
So with how dramatic of a change, obviously, was there a moment where it was like, because for me personally, I try to do crim stuff, but I have horrible anxiety and I get a little it gets really bad. Was there a moment where you were just like, okay, like I'm just going to do criminal stuff and just like kind of work your way? Did it make the process easier going from, just doing the speed, the parking meters to like higher, or was it still just, do you still get that adrenaline rush of like going from like just doing just banks and stuff,
I'm a nervous wreck anytime we're doing any sort of crime. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. It can be it can be a house, it can be up into like Polito bank robberies, things like that. Poppy and myself are nervous wrecks, but Poppy is determined that she's leaving her old life behind, and she's full in with FSM and with her husband especially.
So there was a part, obviously with my character Rex, that there was RP that Jigs had that personality part in his brain, got surgically removed, and it was, I think that was probably the most, I think, serious RP I've ever really, besides things stuff like obviously with my character Rex, that when having him kind of like laying there doing surgery, is there any moments where you thrive for serious RP? Because obviously, having your everyday kind of like, and we've talked about this too in the show, where it was kind of like, I wouldn't say do the thing over and over again, but obviously when having that moment of having something so story driven just like that, is there something that do you ever look for that a lot through RP, for that serious RP, or is that like, obviously it is kind of draining though, right, to kind of always have to be up and like be very, very self-aware, or do you prefer like kind of like that chill kind of like typical everyday RP?
I honestly am always looking for bigger stories. I always want to go bigger, and I want, things to be wrapped up, in a giant web. I don't necessarily love, just you robbed a bank, okay, you're going to jail for 30 minutes and then you're out and you're just back to normal. Like, I crave that bigger story arc, honestly.
So with how like Poppy does have experience with hospital stuff like that, could we ever see maybe a potential story of like Poppy being like an underground doctor or something like that? Could that be potential, you think, or you think that would be too left field for Poppy?
I don't think so. I mean, it could definitely be something. I haven't really looked into it too deeply. Um, but she used to just patch up FSM a
Yeah.
lot before she quit the hospital, right? So, I mean, it could definitely be a thing. I've just not thought about it.
Okay. All right. All right. Maybe might see some potential stuff sometime soon.
Mm-hmm.
But so with kind of going with how obviously the transition going from Poppy to and your other character Vivian, right? Or
Vivian.
Vivian, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
So with Vivian, you've had that character kind of like, I guess, very like clean, right? You have it where she's just DOC, right? And is there any way that you plan on making her like a full cop, or is it mostly just kind of like just staying DOC?
Her original story was she was going to be a cop, and she actually went through cadet phase almost up to the point of solo cadet until I realized I really can't drive in this game. And that's really kind of an important part of being a full-time cop, is being able to drive. Um, so I took her back to DOC for that, and it's just a lot easier to make connections with people, like criminals, when you're in the prison.
Oh, wait, is Vivian, she corrupted? Oh.
No, not
No?
not
Oh, okay. I'm
not
about to
like that.
say, I'm like,
I
what?
mean, not corrupted in the way of like, I'm gonna let you out of prison. Um, but she might, let something slide here and there. She sees a phone. I mean, is it really worth it to make such a big deal over a phone sometimes? Unless it's one of the lifers or someone who's really dangerous, like kind of like little things like that. But no, she's 100% on the moral path.
So there's something that I kind of caught wind of that again, there's a lot of times where you never really tell when stories are kind of going on. It's kind of just on the left, you kind of like don't really see it kind of going, because a lot of times stories just happening on the sidelines, and you never really have time to really look at it. But at the time, right now, she has a stalker, right? Or like someone's kind of like after to get her. Are they from prison, or they escape type? Like, what's kind of going on with that?
Um, we have a few escaped lifers who are targeting DOC right now. So it's not necessarily Vivian herself. She just happens to be the one that's, awake at the time
Right.
and who they can taunt and mess with.
Okay.
Yes, Draco Meyer.
Oh, Draco Meyer. Oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
gotcha. So I do have a question. I think it was one time where I saw by your stream. Do you have a lifer character at the moment?
I do. Yeah, her name is Rosabelle Blakely.
So what's kind of the story with her?
So it's a story that's kind of intertwined with a few other people. So we have me, and then three other girls who are the Blakely sibling, the quadruplets, and then their brother is in jail too. The original purpose of them was to try to annoy new recruits as they were coming through the DOC process, but it's kind of developed into all of them having their own personalities and all of them having their own reasonings for being, how they are.
Okay, so each one kind of have like their own, like you said, like personalities, kind of like their own goals, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
With having a lifer character, obviously, like I wouldn't say you're limited, but it's very like, if you really want a story, you have to really be sneaky with it, right? Like with the way that you want to maneuver certain things. Were you ever expecting it to be so, like, obviously working on one like DOC side, you see everything kind of happening, but working on the lifer side, were there ever moments where you're like it made more sense on why people would do this, or like how you had to like sneakily do certain things? Like, were there ever moments like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a correctional officer, you get to see somebody as a criminal, right? You see them as a criminal, they need to be watched at all times. They're dangerous XYZ. As a lifer or a prisoner, you kind of get to get in there and really get to know people and know their motivations behind things. And I think it's really fun to listen to people's, stories. Um, because I like to know about people and their backstory, honestly.
Okay, yeah. So you're not wrong though. Completely, like that's exactly what 9 times out of 10 what a lifer is just like you just kind of like talk to people oddly enough, and like even sometimes people just blabber their own stuff. You somebody gonna have to talk to them. They just talk to you and just tell you, and so with how because I kind of want to see how you feel about this or thoughts on this, because there are some times when you make other characters and there's only so much you can do with your voice. Like there's only so much. Are there times where you get called Poppy on your old characters, or people think that your old characters are Poppy?
The only time it really happens is with Vivian. If she's on the phone or on a radio or somebody just hears her, around the corner, because I don't know how to work voice changes very well. So I just use my voice, the same voice with Poppy and with Vivian. Vivian gets called Poppy a lot.
Well, I've seen the hair incident. I've seen the hair incident. The hair incident. I was like, Jesus Christ! They kept calling you Poppy. Then they kept saying every hairstyle you picked was just Poppy. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, they're like, that's Poppy. Or with the red hair, if you're a female correctional officer with red hair, you're Porter automatically.
Oh, true. Oh yeah, true that. True.
So that's what happened. Rosabelle, I kind of try to get her voice a little higher, and the way that she talks is more scattered. So nobody really mistakes Rosabelle for anybody but her sisters, maybe.
Well, you can get to your advantage, right? And just have it to where it's like, it's like one stinks out, but it's just like they're all there or something like that, or something, some of the sorts like that.
When all 4 of the sisters are awake, because they're quadruplets, they all are obsessed with looking like each other. So we like to play mind games with the correctional officers. They'll look at me, they'll go, "You're Rosabelle." I'm like, "No, I'm Lilabelle. That's Rosabelle over there." So that's when the characters get really confused.
So I was eating a piece of ice. So when having your story is kind of, you're having these characters very just like different parts of like the city in general, is there any moments where your stories get intertwined with each other, or is it kind of fairly spread out? Because I've learned that sometimes it's not good having multiple, like as many characters as I have right now, because sometimes they get intertwined and it gets a little weird for me.
Not as much. It happened once with a couple of characters of mine a while ago, where the stories got so intertwined that you couldn't probably tell the stories apart. So I've really kind of tried to keep everything separate from there. The only thing I really have is Vivian refers to the sisters as the psycho siblings, and that's all that she knows about them. They're crazy, and she's never met Rosabelle.
Right. So that's exactly what I was trying to go with also, is that like, with your DOC character, like, and having a lifers, is there times where it gets kind of like it gets mentioned, or do you go along with her? Do you kind of just like dust it off like, okay, well that's, whatever the case may be for that?
It really depends on what's being brought up, I guess you could say. They could say, somebody did this, and I'd say, oh, that's interesting. Like, I'll have to talk to them whenever I see them or something along the lines. But I just kind of try to keep it as separate as humanly possible, because I don't want that confusion.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. So with how that you've done, obviously with Poppy, and I kind of want to go back to that, with how how much of a dramatic change you've had Poppy going from be very clean and going fully FSM. Is there any advice you give to someone for like if they were to do that change, like what they should be prepared for, or if there is, or is there even need to be in preparation, like to kind of have that type of RP?
I don't know if I could say, prepare yourself for this or that, but I do think it's less of a kind of weird shift, you could say, if you take it slow, slowly corrupt your character. Don't just jump head first in. Like, Poppy was slowly corrupted. She quit the hospital. She kind of did small things here or there, and then she moved on to the bigger stuff. I think that's kind of an important part of building that, good to evil type of a scenario.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of slow burn stories are always kind of like, it sucks because, you really want this story just to be there and be visible and just be there. Right. But then there are times where you have to slow burn, right? Because like, I think that with the easiest way that I think that messages kind of get out in the city is a simple just word to mouth. I know that people can just tweet out blank 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 is doing blank blank, but like I feel like what really makes things spread quick is word of mouth. And I think that, I mean, somehow I think Jimmy found out about it somehow, and I still was like, damn, like that was like such a left turn, but oh, see, I'm like, oh, like there's obviously like story behind, like it's just that, this is the first thing people are seeing right now, but I'm sure that like there's this like backstory that's just so juicy on how it happened.
I mean, if people who were close to her were paying attention, it wasn't a big surprise, right? She married a criminal who was part of a gang. She started really hanging out with this gang more. She may have done some really ambiguous, like, medical stuff that's kind of questionable. And, if they noticed or paid attention enough, they would see Poppy joined FSM when she was still a doctor.
Let's see, nobody really picked that up, though.
Nobody did. But it was fun to kind of play these little hints here and there, to people who dealt with her every day.
Do you think that, like, with having your character so, like, how can I word this? Like, I wouldn't say so clean, but you built this rapport and trust with people in the city that they didn't ever really bat an eyelash at any other stuff that Poppy's ever done. Do you think that really, like, kind of helped the case of that slow corruption kind of going over, for that way like eyes don't always kind of see what you're doing?
I think so. Yeah, I really think that me playing Poppy the way that she was when she first came into the city really, really helped with that, like, oh, Poppy would never type of attitude towards everything.
See, and I think that that's something that is so missed in the city right now, is like, obviously right now when a serial killer comes along, obviously they either go to prison like when they first come in, or they commit the crime. It's like immediately like really really just crazy things, right? But like I really like seeing, and I don't think I've ever seen this in a city, but like even in movies or whatever the case may be, but like seeing a character go from this very clean, like my favorite thing to see personally would be seeing a cop like being very like by the book and just very, and then something snaps and he just kind of veers off and just like gets fired and then becomes a serial killer, but like knows the system and like tries to manipulate it in his own way, like stuff like that. Oh my god, I would eat that stuff up, man. I'm like, oh my god,
it's lots of fun. I love just to see reactions of people around. Like, that's my favorite thing, and anything that I do, it's the reaction of the people around me that just it makes my day.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that was don't spoil my story. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my god, you're doing it to stream. What the heck? Let me watch, please. Let me meta. I'm just kidding. So with how obviously the story went with Poppy, was there ever a moment where you've kind of like, I wouldn't say regret, but did you ever want to go back to like working at the hospital with Poppy, or was it kind of like once you cross that line, you're like, okay, like I'm not going back at all. Like
at the very beginning of when Poppy quit, I was like, I've made this mistake. I need to go back. Like, there's still time for me to go back. And then I just thought about, the buildup of the story and where it's been going. I was like, it would make no sense
at
for
all
her to just go back.
See, I still can't get over the fact though is like you've had so much big impacts like in the city. Like I don't know, it's just when I look back at it, like did you ever expect the stories that you've kind of been a part of that were like to be blown out of like so well known like through the city?
No, honestly, I came to RP and get a story out, and it just kind of happened where people are like, I know Poppy. Like, you see the cotton candy hair, it's like, oh, that's Poppy,
Yeah.
even though it's not. So I didn't expect to have that kind of impact. I like it, and I like that, I've made so many cool friends and met so many cool people, but no, I've never expected it.
And see, like that's something that I've always kind of like always been really like intrigued, I guess, in is that like how much a story can just go crazy. Like once sometimes with certain characters that I've made, like once I put a character like on like a storyline, it explodes. And like with how you said with Poppy about how Poppy wasn't going to be a main character. That's how I felt with Kree, and then Kree just kind of blew up, and it was kind of just like people just knew Kree by his hair, and it was just like I chose that hair because I thought it looked kind of goofy, and I kind of liked the way it looked. But then it was just like something that you never thought would actually happen, like just kind of without even like noticing it. I guess did you ever notice that like that transition of like going from Jackie and then having a transition like Poppy was going to be your main and kind of focus more on Poppy? Like was there a moment where I guess the way you can word it is that like did you see people who you met Jackie on like obviously I don't know how I can word this, like were there moments where you would bump into people that you knew on Jackie?
I mean, with being in the hospital, as Poppy, you run into police a lot. And yeah, Angela Storm, Alex Storm were the two people I ran into most as Poppy, who I knew on Jackie. They were married. So it's kind of a weird, like you want to talk about things, but you have to remember that these characters don't know each other.
Oh my god, Poppy K. Oh my god.
Lamb K. Lamb K, I'll fight you to the death.
So obviously with what you had within mind with Poppy, like having a transition, is there any thought that kind of like would you ever get Vivian to kind of do that too? Would that ever pique your interest to kind of have like Vivian kind of being a DOC and then slowly getting corrupted by like the prisoners? Because it seems like to me, and this is just me kind of looking right, is that you set your characters up to be having a chance to be corrupted. Is that kind of like that's a little fair to say, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's always a go with the flow
Right.
type of thing that happens with my characters. I don't know if I could say Vivian would ever go as corrupt as Poppy, but Vivian's so protective of, DOC and the recruits that people who hurt the recruits, like she might accidentally or purposely kill one of them, which could lead to some interesting story. But I don't think it would be a full on, jump into a gang and start shooting people like Poppy did.
Oh Jesus! So like not as dramatic, but like something like very slow. Like I wouldn't even say slow at corrupt. I guess it would just be like covering her own tracks, right? Kind of, or like say like an accident or something like that.
Even that, or yeah. I mean, I haven't thought about it. She's wanted to kill a lot of the inmates.
Jesus! Oh my! my God.
Okay, well, let me back up.
Oh
She's
my
wanted to
God.
kill.
Oh my God. What the fuck?
Okay,
Oh, Cotton
okay,
4K. Cotton 4K. What the fuck is this?
Just remember, this is OOC against
Oh,
main
fuck.
character.
God damn it. Let me just say this wasn't. Let me just record in game and just be like, hey, yo, she said this, and be like some clip from this. Easy.
Make sure your Axon is on, or it's not admissible in court. Okay.
Fuck. Fuck, you're right.
Okay, let me back up. Okay. Run it like just normal inmate, like you robbed a bank, you're in and out. Not those kind of inmates. The
Right.
ones that she thinks about, potentially harming are the ones that escape from prison, target DOC, and she has to watch her friends suffer, like Draco. Or the other one is AJ Martin, who escaped and targeted a lot of DOC. And he's back in prison now, and I don't know what Vivian's going to do when she gets out of the ICU. So it's kind of like one of those things.
Oh shit. Okay. So, but to be honest though, imagine how good that'd be, right? If like Vivian just like working with DOC and then having that kind of rapport, right? And then just, but it makes sense though, right? Like having that, if like you said, go with the flow, if that were to happen, then like how juicy that story would be, right? Like going on that path.
With these especially violent criminals who target people and harm them, she could easily make it look like an accident or self-defense or something. Like she could probably work it to where she doesn't get in trouble at all, which is kind of a scary power to have, honestly.
She gets key of the city for murdering. That'd be. How would you react to that if that were to happen? Like if.
Oh my God! If that were to happen, I don't even know if I could imagine a world.
You submit a ticket, be like, "Hey, listen, you confess to the whole thing." OOC, be like, I murdered this person. It wasn't a self-defense." Oh my God.
Oh yeah, it's like it's a whole lot of just go with the flow of
go
RP.
with the flow.
Like I've had people slap other people just because it felt right in the moment. So I it's not a far jump to be like, I shot this person because it just kind of felt right.
Felt right.
Right?
It made me feel good. It's like, whoa, what?
Felt good.
my American in me came out and felt, let my gun go. It's like, wait, what? No, that's not. They actually, oh, you're right. We need to let this happen more often. Jesus, that's a lot of power to have, though. If it was just like labeled as like self-defense, or if you were to like go up to some inmate and just whack him with a nightstick and just go and just walk away. And then they go they're knocked down, like, oh, what happens? Like, I don't know, it's just I guess they just didn't eat, or what.
It's like I don't know what happened. I was over there. But I also, have to play it in the prison. Like, obviously a prison's gonna have a ton of cameras and stuff, right?
Oh, right.
So I probably get away with that. But it's a fun thing to kind of theorize about. Like, could this character get away with murder in a way that they are still seen as a good person? Like, Mr. Ink got away with murder for a while, but he was a piece of shit in everybody's eyes, right?
Can we just talk about the interaction that you had with Mr. Ink at the end? It was, it was so good. Like, I don't know. It was like that chapter, that ending was just like, when you brought him to that what fucking room was that? It was just like the med room, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, the surgery room in the prison. Oh yeah, and she fucking, oh my God. So it was a mixture of nobody else who could do autopsies or, take care of things like that was able to be around or willing to be around. So Poppy was doing autopsy after autopsy after autopsy of Mr. Ink victims. And it kind of scared her. And then she saw him at the end, as this person, this like frail, human being. And she was like, I was fucking scared of you, but I don't know why. Like, you're just a piece of shit. Sorry.
Don't say sorry. You're like, sorry. It's like, no.
Sorry.
No, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm still kind of like, when I look back at that whole story, like the people that allowed me to like perma their characters, it was kind of a little like too much power, because it felt like because I mean, it's not as many permas as it was before, but before the winter update kind of came along, like permas were such a big deal that if they were well known, like the server took a hit, like everybody mentally just was like kind of came together. But boy, when Ink would just straight murder or attack people, it felt like there were lockdowns like going on. And I didn't really expect that to be a thing, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a big thing. I don't know who did it. But there's a clip, I'll have to find it for you. I don't know if you've seen it, of me on my stream as Poppy walking out of the back hallway in the hospital, and there's somebody dressed exactly like Mr. Ink standing on, you remember Mount Zona had that spiral staircase?
Oh, that was admin. That was admin.
Yeah.
That we planned that. We planned that. Yeah.
And Poppy freaked out, and she called her coworker Jigs. She's like, Jigs, I mean, fucking like, Mr. Ink, look. And then he ran away, and I was like, it was the most intense moment I think Poppy had up until that point. And then she had to lock down the hospital and got super pissed because there was Mr. Ink in the hospital, but
Yeah, that was when all that was happening, and I got off of Mr. Ink. I was like, you know what? Time to go to Jimmy and have some good old like funny RP. Is that like is it bad that I feel no remorse for making the casino wheel function after the damn Listen, that was the most gruesomest picture I think I've ever witnessed. I think it was all thanks to Newt for her Photoshop skills for making it very gruesome. But like when all that lockdown stuff was going on, I wasn't expecting like that to kind of be so serious. Like I had Jimmy just drive around the car, and Tony Fox chased down Jimmy, pulled him over. Like, he's like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? He was like, there's a full on serial killer going around. You're driving like this is normal. Like the whole city was so empty. Like everybody was in the hospital or in their like houses. Like I've never in my like 3 years of roleplay have ever experienced like actual lockdown. Like being like that. Like have you ever experienced that with your role play, or is that something that was kind of like very new to you too?
That was a new one for me. I mean, I've been RPing for 6 years. I think that's the first time I've seen a full-on lockdown like that. I've seen PD, lock themselves in MRPD in some servers, but I've never seen a whole city just vanish off the streets. It was insane.
Like the server was full. Like that nobody logged out. The server was full, but like everybody was just not around like at all. Like everybody was very to themselves. There was one point where I took a picture of Jimmy, took a selfie, and I'm not kidding. I'll try to find the picture. I'm not kidding. His left goggle looked like it was Ink's face. Like in it,
my god!
But it was just a glare of something. But I sent it to someone, and they freaked. They said, "Is Ink right beside you?" or something. And they were freaking out, and I was just like, "No, I'm." But no. I'm like, oh, see, I'm like, I'm Ink, but like, I don't know. It was definitely something, and I'm very happy that it was very kept secret. Like, did you know?
I have a story about that actually.
Okay.
I was messaging Rita. She plays Samantha Garcia, who got her heart cut out by Ink, I think. Something along those lines. I was messaging her, and I was like, I think I know who this is. And she said, well, who do you think? I said, I think it's Jimmy, because Jimmy always has these characters that are like so deep and interesting.
Jesus.
Like, I know it's Jimmy. And she's like, no, you're wrong. Like, I'm gonna keep it a secret. But she's like, no, you're wrong.
Right. You're right. Yeah. But see, the thing that I don't know, were you around for Mr. Smiles? I can't remember if you were or not.
I think Mr. Smiles happened right before I came to Echo, or it was Envy at that time. But yeah, I think Mr. Smiles happened right before that.
Yeah, with Mr. Smiles, it was like I didn't get a chance to like have a full-fledged like story. It was like I cut off the head of the mayor, which hence why we can't have mayors. Sorry, guys. and once I did that, it was like, I was on the run, but like the whole city was looking for Mr. Smiles, and that was it, right? Like he got put in prison. But I will say that's before prison bring back Apollo. So I got a new mic. It's a Wave 3, and I don't know how to bring my voice changer onto it. So I'm having that issue. But I can bring back Apollo. It's just a voice changer part. I want to play more Apollo, but I also want to stream Apollo. But
I will say every time Apollo appears, or he always does a roar and starts running at people, scares the shit out of me every single time. And I'm like, I'm gonna die, and then I realize it's Apollo, and I'm like, okay, I might die, but it's not like 100% this time.
Well, you know what I did with Maxine, right?
I don't know.
I don't think a lot of people know what I did to Maxine. This was the first time that she interact with Apollo. So we were at MZ, and Apollo was dropping stuff into a Weasel News van. Well, Maxine keeps walking back to the back door. Hang on, let me allow that. Is it bad that I feel no remorse making the scene over? Wait, what? Read back 10 out of 10. Wait, what did I allow to go through? Anyways, I can't. Oh well. Wait. Gun down for who stole my car. Sure, we did. So there was times where we were at MZ, and there was like stuff like, I had like, food or whatever. I put it down close to the door, and then as soon as she got close to that back door, I held the F1 and like pushed her in, and I got in, locked the door, and drove all the way to the jetty. And as soon as I got the jetty, I tried to like reverse it back to where that's the only way she can get out. But somehow she got out, and we got into like this fist fight. We were punching, she tased me, and she's trying to run away. I found her, tackled her, picked her up again, tried to throw her off the building or on top of that little garage thing. And then it ended up with Apollo punching her, and she got knocked down, and Apollo threw her off the top of the jetty. And then I was like, then Paula got in the Weasel van and reversed and made sure that the van crushed her basically, and fell on top of her on the. And then it doesn't stop. Then he put her back in the van, and then he drove to the pier and ocean dumped her basically.
Oh my god. Apollo's supposed to be sweet.
Yeah, he's not. He wasn't at first. I caused some. It's just like my mime character. There was one dude who, like, I had a rose, and the way that my mime character would introduce himself, he'd give a rose to someone, and then he would eat it, and then that would be it, right? But there's one dude. My mime character brought a rose out, and he was like, "Stop! I'm allergic to roses!" And he started running. So I had my mime character run after him, tackle him, slash me, shoves rose down mouth or whatever, and the guy like perma'd because he's allergic to roses.
Oh my god! See, these are the things. My characters are always stuck sometimes, like in one place, so I don't get to see these one-off weird situations sometimes.
Yeah. I push that limit of like what the fuck just happened? Like with Rex, like there was one time where it was recent where Crew was at the THC, and I had Rex, my robot character, just kind of stand there idle too, and he was like, "What's going on?" He comes up to him, and then I have my finger pointed, and then Krug like puts his finger on Rex's, and I play the soundboard as if it sounds like something's being put onto him, like taking his DNA. He goes, "Oh, what the?" and just like walk away, and then like it's just I like crazy shit like that. It gets me excited.
I love it, and I love little things that just happen that don't necessarily have to be tied to a story.
It just fucking just happens.
Fucking funny. It just fucking happens.
I do want to play more Apollo. It's just, I don't know, with how I want to do Apollo is, I'll sometimes bring him around, but what I like most about it is that some people treat it as if it's a myth. you know, and they're just like, there's just like this Bigfoot named Apollo, like he'll just appear out of nowhere, and it's just people like, it's not true, whatever. And then one day, you know, he comes fucking flying down towards the apartments or whatever, and just fucking roars as loud as he, you know what I'm saying? Like people just freak the fuck out. But I do want to play him more. I wish there was a way to get that pet model clothing. How cool that'd be to like have like a Apollo hoodie. That'd be sick. Oh, but I can't.
I mean,
can't be
like
possible.
Shawnee has like loaf on a hoodie or something like that. That'd be cool.
To get Apollo I'll be down for that. Or like an FSM hoodie or some shit like that.
Yes.
Miss doing surgery on a robot. True. Yeah, those were good times. Those were good times. Is that even possible, Lamb? I don't think it's possible. I was told it wasn't possible. That's why I was like, But that'd be cool though. Have Apollo as an FSM member. Jesus Christ. That should be crap. Well, I'd probably have to ask staff if that's okay, because there's a period of time where I wasn't allowed to have Apollo in public, and then I had to bring him only to fishing. But Poppy on top, true. It is? Really? It's possible?
Rita.
Oh my god. Rita's gonna be the next, her and Rita and Emma's gonna be the next guest for the season 4. Very excited.
So exciting.
Very exciting. I was telling that we should we have Rita and Emma just like cuddling together, like on the couch or some shit like that. But well, Lamb, if you could DM me and tell me the process, that I would like that a lot, actually. But I just gotta figure out how to use the voice changer from microphone, because it is new and I'm scared of it.
I'm just gonna get Paulo a gang mask for every gang in the city. Like, he's not affiliated with anybody. He just
he just wears the mask. Oh, have it between his butt cheeks.
It's like someone's like, you let that happen? They go, are you gonna tell him he can't wear it?
Oh my god. Oh, you want to know something about that pet though? Is that it's not an actual like Bigfoot. It's like it's a guy in a suit, but I RP it as like actual Bigfoot. So technically, that mask it's a mask, but like I don't know. I feel like it kind of ruins the fun if it's like secretly a man in a suit. Like it makes it more like, holy shit, it's an actual fucking Bigfoot. The fuck is this shit? Would you ever do a serial killer? I know it's random, but would you ever do a character like that has like fucked up shit that I may have previously done? Also, we were just speaking about me perming your character. But would you ever do that though?
Oh yeah, a serial killer?
Yeah.
I mean, I have done so in the past. I had a character a long time ago who used to kill people and harvest their organs to sell on the black market. I probably could do it again, but I have to figure out voice changes again because I don't want people to know. Yeah, that's true. Lamb says it. Poppy does, or can, it hasn't yet, she can keep people alive longer to be tortured longer. So Poppy could probably go in that direction. But yeah, I could probably do a serial killer if I got the motivation to do it.
It just takes a lot of time to do it. Like,
yeah, I feel like the issue with serial killer RP is, okay, so you had Mr. Ink, who was super successful and, you know, drove fear into the hearts of everybody.
You think so? You think he caused fear in front of people?
What's that?
You think he caused fear in front of people?
I mean, he caused fear for Poppy for a long time, so I'm assuming it's for everybody, like for other people too. But then everybody else wants to be a serial killer after that, right?
True, they did.
So it's kind of like, you know, serial killers are fun to play, and then everybody else wants to do it, so it takes the fun out of it. And then if somebody goes, you know, it's just another serial killer, like, we're gonna get over it.
Well, there was one point there was like 6 of them, right? Like after I ended the ink, it was like 6 serial killers just like back to back, and it was like, I think I was watching Craig's stream, and he was like, "There's 6 serial killers running around." He was like, "And we only have like 5 officers on duty." I'm like, "Oh my god!" Imagine the realistic. Imagine if that was like actual real life. And like a cop was like, "We have 6 serial killers out there. And we only have like this many cops on duty." He's like, "How are we gonna do?" Like, I don't know. It's just stuff like that. It's like, man, I don't know. After I got done with that story, I was kind of just in my own little world, and then people started pointing out that it was like there's like a lot more serial killers like just around, and I was like, was like, Jesus. I'm like, you would think that people would like, okay, like, and let that breathe. That's usually what I do. Like, if there's like a big story and I want to do something, but I'm like, all right, I'm gonna let that breathe for like about 2 weeks or so, because usually sometimes in RP things speed up, right? Like sometimes they happen, give it a little time, and then maybe do something like that. But
it happened so quickly afterwards. Like, I think the only one I remember the name of is Joker. Which, he's okay, and it's not to like shit on anybody's character. That's not what I'm trying to do when I say this. I just think it was too soon after Mr. Ink to try to bring another story like that into the city, where people were so drained from Mr. Ink. Like, Poppy was completely, like, over it. She refused to deal with any of Joker's victims, like, before she quit. So, I don't know. I would love to do a serial killer, but it just has to be the right time, I would say.
I will also say keeping a secret is probably one of my favorite things, because the amount of DMs I got that was like, hey, can you kill my character off for me? It started to get a little too much personally, because like I felt like when people start really just like, I wouldn't say like begging, but they were just like, hey, please kill my character off. Like, I don't want to play it anymore. I'm like, okay, well, you could, just have your character fly off to another area for something and just like not play it anymore. Like, it doesn't have to end in a murder. Like, as much as I love that, and it makes my character seem like a badass, like story wise, like I kind of have something emotional. Like, I can't just go to your hospital room and sneak in there and then like just stab you, or that's it, and then like go back on main story, like.
Yeah. No, it has to be. I mean, that's a big thing about serial killers, right? They have an MO, right? So you can't just wander off to the side to do something and then go back to doing what you normally do. It would never be connected, which is all the fun of being murdered by the serial killer, right? Like, you get that notoriety of, my character got killed by Mr. Ink. What did your character do?
Yeah, see, that's I don't like that, like I that makes me feel weird, because it's just like, yeah, like, give up Mr. Ink. Okay, well, that's just that's just a just character. But like, when people start flexing that, it's like, oh my god, like,
yeah,
it gets.
I did I offer Jackie for Mr. Ink before I decided that she would die by being run over?
Yeah,
I did.
You did.
That's right.
Yeah, you did. And I don't think I answered. I think I was just like,
you didn't.
Yeah.
I was like, you can have her if you want her, and then I didn't get an answer. So I was like, okay, he doesn't want that.
It was just like,
next thing.
Well, because it was I had to make a whole separate Discord for Ink, and it was just like, I didn't want that. Like, and for God's sakes, I got a fucking on Ink. I got a what is that called when I cannot remember the name of it. So I can't think of the name, but they try to make it like in RP that Ink wasn't allowed to tweet and wasn't allowed to use Instagram, like, at all. They like forcefully made it to where he wasn't supposed to be able to use any of that. And I kind of asked some staff, I'm like, this I feel like is a bit power gaming. Like, they're like, I know that obviously serial killers use like social media as a way to like present themselves and stuff like that, but like I feel like you kind of like, I wouldn't say have to, but like it helps. Like you said, you don't know that stuff happened, but like, imagine if I were to my characters post that on some type of social media or whatever, like you would know about it, like in character. But like, that's why I wanted everyone to see the stuff, that way they felt some type of connection with it.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, because I think I saw it the other day. I was going through my old Google Drive, and I used to have a character who was part of the DA's office before I stopped playing her.
Oh, so you had a DA character too?
I did for a little bit. She got attacked and she developed really bad PTSD. I sent her home.
Oh.
I just wasn't feeling it.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah, but I think it was like a cease and desist. I remember reading it like,
that's what it was. Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, and like, I personally was like, I don't know, like I feel like it's a little bit too much personally, because like, I don't know, like when stuff like that started, like when that was still happening, I started to feel like people just didn't like the story. People wanted it to be over. That's why I was kind of like trying to figure out a way to end it as quick as possible, because I felt like people were tired. People wanted it to end, if that makes sense. Like they just, it was very, it was very good, but people wanted me to end it. But sometimes I'd be like, all right, I'll escape from prison somehow, or whatever the case, but
yeah. I mean, I will admit there was a day I had done like 4 autopsies that day of different people. Like I got really overwhelmed, and I did message Rita, and I was like, I can Jimmy like cool it down for a couple days, cuz well, I didn't say Jimmy, but I was like, you have ties to Mr. Ink. Like, can you just have him cool it down for a couple days, because I'm exhausted.
No, and see, that's the thing though, right? Is that like there'll be some times where I'll be like, I kind of want to do attack or whatever, and then there was a point where I think I know exactly what frame you're talking about, because there was a time where I was just like, okay, like I'm drained myself, because there's times where I have to really like look around, watch your back, make sure no one's watching. Like there was a point where when Mr. Ink was taking the blooms to get like torture them and stuff, somehow, some way, Tony Fox followed us. Somehow, I don't know how the fuck he did. I don't know how the fuck he found us. But apparently, he said he was on a rooftop, and that's how he was able to like call the police on us and everything. But it was just like, there was a point where it was very just overwhelming, and there would be times where, if I felt like, okay, there's enough stuff to be chewed on, like for people, like for cops, and like for you, by can't think of the word, bitopsy or whatever. It was just enough, and then I would go on Jimmy or whatever the case may be, and then but okay, all right, like given like a week or so, just like figure out a way to tie the knot for the story.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I think Poppy, I mean, even then Poppy was kind of like, he's in prison, people are going to try and break into prison, and like, I don't have time for that, because they're going to get shot, I'm going to have to pull out their bullets. Like, it all just kind of like spiraled at one point for me, and I was like,
oh, it was bad. It was bad. It was bad in prison. Like they wouldn't, like now, obviously for lifers, they let them walk around or whatever. Like even with like revision and stuff, like if they walk around with them, like, but before like the prison system like changed or whatever, like Ink had to stay in the cell. Like that was like no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, and it was just like at some point it was like, okay, like I don't feel like, I don't think it's a, I didn't really have fun with it, to be honest. But like, I don't know, it was just a little bit oh, which reminds me, by the way, let me do this.
This one is so cute, Ash. It's like, this is my new favorite piece of Poppy and Jigsaw. Like, it's gonna go everywhere.
And like I said, I can show you how to do it for your stream. Also, Space Soda, how you doing, man? Hope all is well with you. Hope you're having a fantastic day. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like with serial killer RP, it's definitely a back and forth with just like understanding, like, okay, cooling time, and just let things be digested through RP, and then it's like once you feel like, okay, like they've obviously have enough time to like dissect it, understand it, and then you would go back and go back and do something else to cause more story.
Yeah, it would always be fun, always when you're off duty as a doctor and someone's like, I need you for a serial killer thing. And, that gets draining. And yeah, I think it's good RP to have if you know how to take the breaks.
Yeah,
I guess.
Oh, for sure. I forgot I was going to say something else, but I totally forgot I was going to say. I started thinking about pancakes. So with how obviously you would do a serial killer. I just remember what I was gonna say. So there's a point where one of my characters you actually did an autopsy on. I'm pretty sure. I think I'm like 80% sure. It was when Porter did her serial killer character, and she chopped off his head or whatever, and like just left it at Chi-Chi's.
Did I?
I think you did. I'm pretty sure.
Oh my gosh, I did so many autopsies the last like 4 months I was a medic. I don't remember all of them. But yeah, that's fun RP to have too. If you can get the little hints off of people
Oh yeah.
here and there, like that's fun.
Yeah, it's definitely I don't know, like sometimes I feel like it, like I said, definitely could be definitely draining. And I think I like to also say like breaks are always good, you know, like always make sure you take breaks through role play, just because like it can be very overwhelming. And then, you know, if you don't take that breaks that are needed, it's like you're gonna just be very uncomfy, you know.
Yeah, that's why. Well, that's kind of why I had to force Vivian into a coma. Because like I said earlier, I just focus all of my energy into one thing that it burns me out and it breaks me down so bad. So yeah, breaks definitely important because I was getting really angry really fast on DOC and I was like, yeah, this I gotta take a break.
I gotta go. So with us kind of closing, I want to thank you again for coming on. It means a lot. And I'm glad that we finally was able to sit down, dissect your RP, go behind the role play. I appreciate you a lot for taking the time and to talking to me.
Yeah, it was fun. It's lots of fun. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Don't worry.
Don't say that, because then I'll definitely get you on sometime next season. But yeah, so with this time, I usually ask chat with us kind of closing. Is there any questions you'd like to ask Poppy while we're here, while we're kind of closing up a little bit? And again, I want to thank everybody in chat for coming on, for just taking the time just to listen and just kind of check us out. I think we're going to be taking about... Let me see the calendar. So we'll be back on the 19th. We'll be back on the 19th for season 4. We're gonna take a few days off, but I'll be still streaming some RP, still doing a little bit of streaming. But for behind the roleplay stuff, we're gonna give a little break for the new set and everything like that. So, but yeah, like I said, if anybody have any questions, just kind of put it out there, and we'll definitely do a little questionnaire. But thank you again, dude. Thank you, Poppy. What? No problem, dude. But yeah.
Thanks for the show. You're welcome.
Who's your favorite FSM member, and why is it?
So I think I'm a little bit biased on this one. My favorite FSM member is actually Poppy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
No, it's actually Jigs, to be honest. I mean, I think I'm a little bit biased because, like, they're married, and, the guy who plays Jigs is a real good friend of mine, OOC, so it's like, sorry, Butters. But you're a close second. Don't tell anybody else.
Close second? Oh, my. I'm telling everybody. I'm leaking that information.
Don't record this.
It's streaming. Oh, I do have a question.
Oh, shit. Okay.
How'd you get 600 Nuts? How did you get that name? That's what I want to know. Like,
it's my favorite. I always get this question. Back when I first discovered Twitch, I had a friend who was streaming, but she didn't want me to watch her stream because she was nervous. And so I was like, what is a name that I can come up with that she would never know it's me? And it just kind of 600 Nuts just was there.
600. It's so particular. It's so it's such a particular name that
yeah. And I've thought about changing it, but it's just so
it's you. It's your identity.
Now.
It's your identity. That's literally oh my god. It's a good name though. It's very unique. I was like, what the heck? How do you come up with that name? Does it just pop up?
I mean, and then the days of when I was playing Rainbow Six Siege a lot, you get into that people are horrendous to female gamers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I could just be like, we can make it 602 when I beat your ass or something.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Shithead. Okay.
Such a nut quantity. True. It is such a specific nut quality. Exactly.
Either there are 600 people missing one nut or 300 people missing both of them.
Oh, what the fuck?
Either way, it's an adventure.
What, an adventure? What the? I mean, true. You're not wrong. All right. If you know, you know. Oh my god. Well, thank you again for coming on. It's been a good one. I I'm so sorry for taking so long for this to happen,
Yeah.
but it finally happened, and I think it was a great last episode for this season.
Yeah, just don't let it happen again.
I won't. I promise. Okay. I promise. If I gotta go to the hospital, I'm trying to get through it. I'm not gonna.
You better be streaming from the hospital. Let's go.
I was tempted, but the internet there isn't. It's not the greatest.
No, I wouldn't have let you do that anyway. I would have been like, "What the fuck are you even doing? Go get some rest."
I'm fine. Oh God.
The beeping in the background is the flat line. Like,
oh my God. True. So after each episode, I asked the guest, who should we raid? Who do you think we should raid?
Oh, hold on. Who is streaming right now? Hold a second. Who can we make fun of? I mean, raid. You know, if you're interested in the DOC type of RP, Moon Hera works with me. Her name is Lyra in character. We should go after her.
Wait,
get her a little bit of
what's her Discord name? Moon Hera. Moon Hera. Oh yeah. Okay. Let's raid her.
Sounds like fun.
All right. Thank you again, chat, for joining us for this Behind the Roleplay. Like I said, we're gonna take about pretty much a week break to get some things ready for the next season. But thank you again, Poppy, for taking the time to come on Behind the Roleplay.
Thank you. It was so much fun.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna start this raid. Bam. What the heck? They're in a bathroom with a dog. What the? The heck is going on?
Lovey, I don't know. There's a lot of DOC in the hospital right now.
What the fuck? What happened? What the fuck?
Well, Vivian got attacked by a lifer and forced to drink bleach.
What the fuck?
Those escapes.
Jesus, you called my characters fucked up. What the fuck?
Yeah, it was a whole thing. And then those escaped lifers who were targeting the other DOC have been putting DOC in the hospital.
What the fuck? All right, well, I'm gonna go raid. Thank you again, chat, for chilling, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you again for joining.
Bye, guys.
Gotta go.